You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. First, let me make a quick apology for my Hebrew pronunciation. My voice isn't a real voice, it's AI generated, and sometimes the Hebrew words come out sounding like I've had 3 espressos and a mouthful of peanut butter. So if Ahasuerus sounds more like has a virus, please don't blame your headphones. Today's topic is the Book of Esther. Esther is a wild ride, part political thriller, part soap opera, and part comedy sketch, but with very real consequences. It's the only book of the Hebrew Bible where God's name is never mentioned, which is like watching a Marvel movie without a superhero cameo. Strange, but somehow it works. And yet, it has become one of Judaism's most beloved stories, celebrated every year during Purim with costumes, carnivals, and hamantaschen cookies. Let's dive into the story of how a secret identity, a beauty contest, and a very large ego shaped Jewish survival in ancient Persia. The Book of Esther kicks off in Persia under King Ahasuerus, probably Xerxes first if you're cross-referencing with world history. This guy throws a party that makes Coachella look like a PTA bake sale. We're talking a months-long banquet with endless wine, luxury couches, and golden goblets. He summons Queen Vashti, his wife, to show off her beauty in front of his drunk guests. She flat out refuses. This is basically the royal equivalent of leaving his text message on read. Ahasuerus panics, convinced that if Vashti's refusal spreads, women everywhere will start standing up to their husbands. Imagine an empire-wide feminist revolution. His advisors, all men of course, are horrified. To prevent this disaster, Vashti is banished. It's a dramatic opening that sets the stage for Esther to enter. The king, now queenless, decides to hold what is essentially a nationwide beauty pageant. Imagine The Bachelor, except the prize is becoming Queen of Persia, and the stakes involve palace politics, assassinations, and the survival of an entire people. Enter Esther, a young Jewish woman living in exile. She's raised by her cousin Mordecai after her parents die. When the king's search for the fairest maiden decree hits, she's scooped into the harem. But this isn't just Sephora and a weekend spa trip. We're talking 12 months of beauty regimens. 6 months of oil treatments, 6 months of perfumes. Even modern influencers would call that overkill. Esther's humility, grace, and charm win the king over, and she's crowned queen. But here's the twist. Mordecai tells her to keep her Jewish identity secret. So while she lives in the palace, no one knows she's Jewish. Meanwhile, Mordecai hangs around the king's gate, where all the political gossip flows like Twitter. One day, he overhears 2 eunuchs plotting to assassinate the king. He tells Esther, Esther tells the king, and the plot is foiled. It gets recorded in the royal chronicles, but the king promptly forgets. This tiny footnote will later turn into a key plot twist. It's basically Chekhov's gun, but in bureaucratic scroll form. Enter the villain, Haman. If this were a movie, he'd have dramatic music every time he appeared. Haman becomes the king's top advisor, but he's got an ego the size of Texas. Everyone is commanded to bow to him, but Mordecai refuses. Why? The text doesn't spell it out. Maybe bowing looked like idol worship. Maybe Mordecai just couldn't stomach Haman's arrogance. Either way, Haman takes it personally. But instead of targeting just Mordecai, he decides to annihilate all Jews in the empire. Talk about overreaction. He casts lots, called Purim in Hebrew, to pick the date for this genocide. That's right, the entire holiday of Purim is named after what amounts to rolling dice. Haman sells this genocidal plan to Ahasuerus with vague accusations. There are people who don't follow your laws. The king, distracted or indifferent, shrugs, hands him the royal signet ring, and says, "Do whatever you want." It's like clicking accept all terms and conditions without reading them. Except instead of spam emails, it authorizes mass murder. The decree goes out. On the 13th day of Adar, Jews across the empire are to be killed and plundered. Chaos spreads. Mordecai, devastated, dons sackcloth and ashes. He gets word to Esther, urging her to intervene. Esther hesitates. Approaching the king without being summoned is a capital offense, punishable by death unless he extends his golden scepter. Think of it like trying to slide into the DMs of someone who never responds. Except if they don't like your message, you actually die. Mordecai presses her with one of the book's most famous lines. Who knows if it's for just such a time as this that you've attained royalty? It's the ultimate call to courage. Esther agrees, but requests a 3-day fast from all Jews in Shushan to support her. This is a turning point. She shifts from passive participant to active leader, deciding to risk her life to save her people.
Is your dog's food created to maximize your dog's quality of life or to extend the food's shelf life? It's time to make the switch to Sundays. Sundays was founded by a veterinarian and mom, Dr. Tori Waxman, who got tired of seeing so-called premium dog food full of fillers and synthetics. So she designed Sundays, air-dried real food made in a human-grade kitchen using the same ingredients and care you'd use to cook for yourself and your family. Every bite of Sundays is clean and made from real meat, fruits, and veggies, with no kibble. That means no weird ingredients you can't pronounce and no fillers. Because your dog deserves food made with care, not in the interest of cost-cutting. You just scoop and serve. No freezer, no thawing or prep, no mess. Just nutrient-rich, clean food that fuels their happiest, healthiest days. So you get more of them to share together. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/now30 and get 30% off your first 3 orders. Or you can use code NOW30 at checkout. That's 30% off your first order at sundaysfordogs.com/now30. Or use code NOW30 at checkout.
New year, same extra value meals at McDonald's. So now, get 2 snack wraps, plus fries, and a medium soft drink for just $8. For limited time only, prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
The secret queen is about to play her hand, and the stage is set for a showdown with Haman. Esther's plan is subtle, even sly. Instead of storming in with demands, she invites the king and Haman to a private banquet. It's like cliffhanging an episode of Game of Thrones. You know something big is coming, but not yet. The king asks what she wants, but Esther delays, inviting them to a second banquet the next day. Haman leaves feeling smug, convinced he's in the queen's inner circle. But when he sees Mordecai again, refusing to bow, his rage boils over. His wife and friends suggest building a gallows 75 feet high. That's absurdly tall, like hang a man and get clear cell service tall. Haman loves the idea. Meanwhile, the king can't sleep. He orders the royal chronicles read to him because nothing puts you to sleep faster than paperwork. Suddenly, the record of Mordecai foiling the assassination is read aloud. The king realizes he never rewarded Mordecai. In a twist of cosmic comedy, Haman is ordered to parade Mordecai through the streets, proclaiming his honor. Talk about humiliation. Haman goes home crushed, his downfall already underway. At the second banquet, Esther finally reveals her secret. She tells the king, "I am Jewish, and my people have been sold to be destroyed." The king, shocked, demands to know who would dare. Esther points, "This vile Haman." Cue dramatic music, gasp, camera zoom. Haman panics, begging for his life, collapsing onto Esther's couch. The king storms back in and sees Haman sprawled over the queen. "Will he even assault the queen with me in the house?" he thunders. That's it for Haman. One of the eunuchs casually mentions, "Oh, by the way, Haman built this enormous gallows." The king orders Haman hanged on his own device. It's poetic justice. The villain falls into the trap he built for someone else. But the story isn't over. The king's decree allowing the Jews' destruction can't be revoked. So Esther and Mordecai must find another way to save their people before the date arrives. The tension shifts from palace intrigue to all-out survival mode for the Jewish community across the empire. Esther and Mordecai work quickly. The king authorizes them to issue a new decree. Jews across the empire are permitted to gather and defend themselves against anyone who attacks them. It's not a repeal, but a counterweight. Think of it like patching bad software with an emergency update. It doesn't erase the bug, but it keeps the system from crashing. When the appointed day arrives, the Jews successfully defend themselves, defeating enemies and avoiding annihilation. In Shushan alone, they kill hundreds, including the 10 sons of Haman, who are later hanged on the infamous gallows. The violence is intense, and it makes some readers uncomfortable. But the text frames it as survival in the face of genocide. Instead of extermination, the Jews emerge victorious. Mordecai, once the gate-sitter, is elevated to second in command, wearing royal robes. Esther, once the hidden queen, is now revealed as the savior of her people. The arc has flipped completely. The powerless become powerful, the threatened become secure, and the villain is gone. From this moment of survival comes celebration. Mordecai establishes the festival of Purim to commemorate the events. Jews are to celebrate with feasting, joy, sending gifts of food to friends, and giving charity to the poor. It's a holiday about flipping the script, sorrow to gladness, mourning to celebration. That's why Purim today is marked by costumes, noise-making groggers, playful skits, and general silliness. It's like the Jewish version of Mardi Gras, but with Hamantash and cookies shaped like Haman's hat or ears, depending on your tradition. Beneath the fun lies a serious message. Jewish identity survived against impossible odds, even in exile, even without God's name appearing in the text. That's part of the genius of Esther. The divine hand is hidden, but history still turns in favor of survival. Whether you see it as coincidence, fate, or divine providence working behind the scenes, the story reminds us that courage and unity can overturn even the darkest decree. So what's the takeaway from Esther? On one level, it's a dramatic tale of palace intrigue and miraculous survival. On another, it's a blueprint for Jewish resilience. The story asks, what do you do when your identity puts you at risk? Do you hide it, like Esther initially did, or do you embrace it when the time comes, even if it means danger? Esther's journey from hidden queen to courageous advocate has inspired generations. The fact that God isn't mentioned underscores the theme that sometimes we don't see divine intervention directly. It's hidden, like Esther's identity. Yet through fasting, courage, and smart strategy, salvation still arrives. Today, Purim continues to embody that joy and reversal. We remember that the lots, Purim, cast by Haman turned against him, and the dice of history rolled in favor of survival. So next time you put on a silly costume or munch on a poppy seed hamantashen, remember, you're celebrating one of the most dramatic survival stories ever told.